Alright, so Max B is back outside and he's not wasting any time. The man just did a show at the Brooklyn Paramount, sold the whole thing out, had the building going crazy, and then he gets on that stage and calls out Juelz Santana directly, in front of everybody. And what he said was interesting because it wasn't even disrespectful. He said he tried to bring Juelz out, said this moment could have got him right back. Those were his words. So now the question everybody's asking is, why wasn't Juelz there? Was it the car accident he just had? Was it something deeper? Or is this really about Jim Jones? Because if you know anything about Dipset history, you know that loyalty situation is complicated. And Max B just put it all on Front Street. Let me back up for a second, because if you're newer to this whole situation, you need context. Max B and Jim Jones have history that goes way back, and it's not good. These two were close at one point. Max was signed to Jim's Bird Gang label back in 2006.
I highly recommend they become friends with Max again, hash it out, and get back to the music. It is not going to be good for those peeps. And Jim Jones really needs to piece things up with Max B before it's too late, man. Before you know, he's going to start playing Touch It in Miami. It's going to get bad.
They made music together. The wave was real. Max even co-wrote some of Jim's biggest records, including We Fly High, which became Jim's highest charting single to date. But things fell apart in a major way. There was beef over money, publishing, credit for creating that wave sound that both of them were riding. Max claimed he was only getting paid $300 for live shows, while Jim was pulling in $10,000 to $15,000. He also said he wrote hooks, verses, and melodies for Jim without getting proper recognition. It got ugly. We're talking diss tracks, accusations, real tension that lasted for years. And all of this was happening while Max was locked up doing a 16-year bid behind a conspiracy case tied to a robbery that left someone dead. Max wasn't even at the scene, but he was accused of orchestrating it. He was originally sentenced to 75 years in 2009, which was essentially a life sentence. His legal team eventually got that reduced to 20 years in 2016, after arguing his original lawyer had a conflict of interest. So Max is sitting in prison watching Jim continue to move, continue to make money, continue to rep the wave while he's stuck behind bars. That's heavy. But here's something people forget. When Max needed bail money back in 2007, he had to sell part of his publishing to Jim Jones to raise the funds. His bail was set at around $1.5 to $2 million.
It's gonna get bad, man. Let's get back to what it was, man. Let's get back to what it was. Mother effers are older now. It's a waste of time, man. Let's get to the music.
He was desperate to get out, so he signed a deal that gave Jim ownership of his catalog. That decision haunted the relationship for years and became one of the central grievances in their beef. Thankfully, a judge later ruled in 2010 that Jim no longer had rights to that publishing. But the damage to their relationship was already done. Now Max is home. He was released on November 9th, 2025 after serving 16 years. French Montana was right there waiting for him outside the prison. Those two never lost their connection. While Max was locked up, French kept his name alive, wore the Free Max B shirts, mentioned him in interviews, and they even continued to release music together through phone-recorded verses. Their Coke Wave mixtape series, which started back in 2009, became legendary in New York street rap. And now they're back together, having just dropped Coke Wave 3.5 Narcos earlier this month, with 22 tracks and production from Metro Boomin, Harry Fraud, and Dame Grease.
You know what I'm saying? And yeah, that's how that went. I don't know the timeline. I can't recall the timeline because I'm bad with that, of when 50 reached out, if it was really at that time, you know what I'm saying, of that specific.
French described their reunion as Voltron coming back together. And instead of coming home bitter and just going at everybody, Max is actually trying to build bridges. He said on Drink Champs back in July 2025, while still in prison, that he wanted to start over with Jim. He said Jim wished him dead, said all types of hard things, but he was ready to move past it. He talked about being a new man, a married man with 4 kids, and wanting to focus on getting his money and riding out into the sunset. That sounded like peace, but here's where it gets complicated. Jim Jones went on his podcast in October 2025 and said he may forgive, but he doesn't forget. He made it clear he wasn't ready to make anyone feel comfortable. And then in late November, just weeks after getting out, Max performed his old Jim Jones diss track, We Sipe Grand Crew, at a show in New York. That's the song with the line about Chrissy. Jim's longtime partner. Max later apologized, saying it was just for the fans and he didn't mean any disrespect. But the fact that he performed it at all tells you the situation is still messy. So let's talk about Juelz Santana for a minute, because his situation is its own story. This is a guy who was one of the biggest names in Dipset outside of Cameron and Jim Jones. When Juelz was hot, he was really hot. He had Run It with Chris Brown, which went to #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 for 5 weeks in 2005. That was the first debut single by a male artist to top that chart in over a decade. He had There It Go, which went platinum.
What about that line that Juelz says? And he's like, 2 more for Cam for taking over the rock.
2 more for Cam for taking over the rock.
I'm watching and I'm like, damn, that's you know, it's
But
like
I mean,
a strong statement.
at that point, we were the only artist besides Jay that was going platinum on Rockefeller.
He had those legendary sessions with Lil Wayne where they were supposed to drop I Can't Feel My Face, a collaborative project that fans have been waiting on for almost 2 decades. The Blow mixtape they dropped in 2006 was fire, but the official album never came out due to label politics. The man was everywhere during that era. But then things changed. Juelz caught that federal case in 2018. The airport situation at Newark where TSA found a loaded .38 caliber handgun and oxycodone pills in his carry-on. And then he ran. He fled the airport, left his bags and his ID behind, and didn't turn himself in until 3 days later. That led to prison time. He was sentenced to 27 months in December 2018 and ended up serving 19 months before getting released in August 2020. And when he came home, something was different. The energy wasn't the same. The confidence that made Juelz who he was seemed like it had dimmed. He dropped music here and there, but it didn't hit the way it used to. And slowly, people started to forget. That's just what happens in hip-hop. If you're not active, if you're not in front of people, they move on to the next thing. Now here's where it gets complicated. Juelz has always been in Jim Jones' corner. That loyalty runs deep. Back in the late 2000s, when Dipset was falling apart and Cameron was beefing with Jim, Juelz stood on stage with Jim at a 50 Cent concert. That was a statement at the time because Cam and 50 had their own issues.
The only other artist that did that was Kanye when he started dropping.
Turn tragedy to triumph. Make music that's fire. Spit my soul through the wire.
Remember that, like we're the only artists that went platinum up there, so we were feeling ourselves. Cam just came on for platinum success.
Juelz caught heat for that, but he stood by Jim. Even recently, just a few weeks ago, Juelz spoke on the current tension between Cameron and Jim Jones. He said both of them are still his brothers, and he doesn't condone the beef. He said nobody wins when the family feuds. That tells you where his head is at. He's trying to stay neutral, but his actions over the years show he rides with Jim. And Juelz has still been working with Jim. His most recent solo record from August 2024 was Boys in the Hood, featuring Meek Mill, Jim Jones, and Rowdy Rebel. He also appeared on Dice Pezzo's single Plug Motivation, and Dice is signed to Jim Jones. So the connection between Juelz and Jim is very much active and ongoing. But Max B just created a real moment in Brooklyn, and I need you to understand what this looked like because the footage is out there. The Brooklyn Paramount was packed wall to wall. The crowd was going crazy for records that are years old. Max is performing older joints, and the energy is like they just dropped yesterday. 5Yo Foreign pulled up. Lil Kim came through. Red Cafe was in the building. When was the last time you saw a hip-hop show look like that? When was the last time you saw somebody come home from prison and immediately start selling out venues on their own? Not on a festival lineup, not on a shared bill, but their own headline show.
You know, Cam and Jim history go back before me. You understand what I'm saying? Like Cam and when I met Cam and Jim, they were super close. So I honestly don't really know Jim being from the Bronx and all that.
That's rare. That's special. And Max saw an opportunity to share that moment. He saw a chance to pull Juelz back into the spotlight. He literally said on stage that this could have got Juelz right back. Think about that. Max is extending a hand to somebody who has publicly been aligned with the person he has the most problems with. That takes something. That's bigger than the beef. That's somebody trying to move forward and bring people with him. So why didn't Juelz show? That's the million-dollar question right now. There are a few possibilities and we should go through all of them. First, there's the car accident. Juelz was in a crash on January 12, 2026, just days before Max's Brooklyn show. He posted pictures on Instagram showing his face all scratched up and bloody, with visible injuries to his nose and cheek. He just wrote car crash with some prayer emojis and didn't give any details about what happened. Reports say he was out partying at a strip club with future Jim Jones and Lil Baby just hours before the accident. So maybe he physically couldn't be there. Maybe he was recovering. That's a fair reason if that's what it was. But here's the thing. If you can post pictures online, if you can be on social media showing people what happened, people are gonna ask why you couldn't at least make a statement about Max's show.
Like, you are from the Bronx, bro. You are not from Harlem. Why do you keep thinking that you are from Harlem, bro?
You know what I'm saying? When I met them, they was in 5H, which is, you know what I'm saying, Jim's apartment, and that's, you know, like, I guess that time was after all the stuff Cam had said already with the Children of the Corn and Jim.
Why you couldn't show any kind of support publicly, the silence is loud in situations like this. Second possibility is the Jim Jones factor. And this is what most people in the comments are gonna point to. If Juelz shows up to Max B's show, if he stands on that stage with him, if he gives Max that energy and that cosign, what does that look like to Jim? How does that affect his relationship with somebody he's been loyal to for decades? These are the calculations that artists have to make in real time, and it's not always easy. Juelz himself said it best when he spoke about the Dipset situation. He said podcasts and social media blow things up and create drama where it doesn't need to exist. But he also made clear that he refuses to pick sides between his brothers. But let me push back on that logic for a second. Jim Jones is not lining up these opportunities for Juelz. I don't see Jim creating moments like this where Juelz can get in front of a packed room and remind people what he's capable of. I don't see those doors being opened. So if your loyalty is keeping you from opportunities that could actually help your career, at what point do you have to ask yourself what you're really being loyal to? Third possibility is confidence. And I don't say this to be disrespectful to Juelz, but it has to be said. When you've been out of the spotlight for a while, when things haven't gone the way you planned, when you've been through what he's been through, stepping back into that light can be scary. What if the crowd doesn't react the way they used to? What if you get up there and the energy isn't what it was?
You know, whatever he said, you know what I'm saying? So, like what I said, when I got there, Cam and Jim was like this, super tight. Mace wasn't even in the picture. I don't know Mace like that. You know what I'm saying? Every time I seen Mace, it's been a mutual, you know what I'm saying? Respect there. So
those thoughts are real. That fear is real, and it can keep people from taking shots that they should be taking. The thing is, Max's crowd would have shown Juelz love. That's almost guaranteed. These are hip-hop fans who remember Dipset at its peak. They remember Diplomatic Immunity going gold in less than 2 months. They remember Cameron's Come Home With Me going platinum. They remember Oh Boy and Hey Ma dominating the radio. They remember what Juelz meant to that movement. They would have gone crazy to see him. That's the frustrating part. The reception was probably already there waiting for him. He just had to show up. This whole situation is a reminder of how messy hip-hop relationships can get. These aren't just business partnerships. These are friendships, family bonds, neighborhood ties, shared history. When beef happens, it doesn't just affect the two people directly involved. It ripples out to everyone around them. And people have to make choices about where they stand. Those choices have consequences. Meanwhile, Max B is showing what it looks like to move forward. He's making music with French Montana. He's selling out shows. He's extending hands to people. He reportedly proposed to his longtime partner shortly after coming home, upgrading the ring he gave her before he went in. The man is living, and he's trying to bring people along for the ride. Juelz made a choice by not being at that Brooklyn show.
yeah, when I met Cam and Jim, they were already Trump tight and locked in. You understand? Cam had some things to say back to 50, and that, you know, that led to the whole Curtis situation that Cam was doing. You know what I'm saying? And the songs got put out on both sides from Cam and Fifth, whatever.
Whether it was about Jim, about the accident, about confidence, or about something else entirely, he made a choice. And now he has to deal with the fallout from that choice, because Max put it on record. Max said in front of everybody what he was trying to do, and Juelz's absence is now part of the story. I'm going to keep watching this situation because I don't think it's over. Max is going to keep performing. He's going to keep selling out shows. He's going to keep building momentum. And at some point, there's going to be another opportunity for paths to cross. What happens then is going to tell us a lot about where everybody really stands. So let me ask you, what do you think is really going on here? Is Juelz too locked into his loyalty to Jim Jones to make a move like this? Is his confidence not where it needs to be to step back into the spotlight? Or is there something else entirely that we're not seeing? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to know what you think. Make sure you hit that like button if you're rocking with the content, subscribe if you're not already, and I'll catch you on the next one.